All right, let's get this party started. What's up, team? This is Eddie Gray. Welcome to In the Mix. We're back at it, and I just wanted to shout a quick happy birthday to Mrs. Days. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. All right, so if you've been paying attention to the channel, then you know and you're in the know about what I've been up to, about what we've been up to as a whole at HF Music Academy. And so what's going on now is that I finally finished this track that we've been working on for the last couple of weeks. And look, I'm elated. This thing came out so great. I think you're going to really appreciate the origin, how it developed, and then now the final product. And this song was made specifically for the show Snapped. And so there's a world of music licensing where you make ancillary music. You do what you love, you get paid. It's phenomenal. It's great. I've been doing it for the last 6-7 years, and I've done so many great things. Worked on Emmy award-winning television shows. I've produced artists. I've done commercials. I've done jingles. Currently, my company is the official proofreader of the Pro Tools manual for a guy named Edgar Rothermick, who's an absolute beast. Please check him out and his wonderful work, the GEM manuals. And so what we're doing right now is we're working on borrowing or stealing from ourselves. Why is this even a topic? Why are we talking about this? Well, a couple weeks ago, I read George Martin's autobiography. If you don't know who that is, he basically invented what we're all doing right now. This position, the so-called producer, right? The proverbial fifth Beatle or sixth Beatle. And he basically founded what it is that we're currently doing right now, right? And so when I read his autobiography, what ended up happening was I started noticing that he was telling great stories about composers, right? And so one of the stories he talked about was Johann Sebastian Bach, perhaps the greatest composer of all time, next to Mozart, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff. I mean, this is a wide list. But here's the point. This gentleman, Mr. Johann Sebastian Bach, used to pinch material from himself because he was a layman. He was not respected during his time. And so because he wasn't respected during his time, he wasn't well paid, and he was just basically making a living taking care of his 13 or 16 children. It was a different time, of course, right? And so anyway, I thought this is so great. We can use this and talk about it in a modern context. You have a ton of ideas. You do a lot with your music, right? And so why not take from yourself, borrow from yourself? And so that kind of led into writing this song. So this right here is a song I'll show you in 1 second, that I wrote for Born This Way season 3. Okay, it was originally called Black Sugar, and I just played with the arrangement. You can go through the last video series if you really want to see the details. And so let's get into the session so we can analyze it as a whole, so you too can learn how to pinch music from yourself. Here we go. You ready? All right, so we are looking at Logic 10.5.1, 2, and I'm gonna go ahead and play this back, and I'm gonna show you some phenomenal tricks that we did live, some things I did off screen, but this song is pretty much done. Here we go. I'm just gonna play it front to back. If you guys have any questions, hit me on the chat, and we will go from there. Roger that. Okay, so why does this work? Why is this a perfect kind of quintessential television cue? Why would this fit in a scene with tension, action, arguments, um, disagreements, all that good stuff? Why does this work? Well, number one, it fits the brief. So if I go back to the reference, I did my best to follow it and think about the textures. I believe my song is just louder as a whole. But if we look at the frequency range, if we look at the punch overall, if we look at this stereo width, then we know that it's pretty close to home. So let's listen to the reference really quick. So my song didn't even use guitars in the beginning. And if you've been keeping track, I essentially added guitars in order to get a little bit closer to that as well. If there's a winning formula and you have a client and this is what they want, you want to stay close to home, stay close to the reference, and yet somehow you still have to make it original and make it your own. For example, when they listen to my song, they'll feel like they stumbled upon something new, and that's what we're looking for. Is that that juxtaposition of, oh, this feels familiar and yet it feels new. So this is going to be a very valuable a trait that you want to take on, right? Where you have the ability to be relatable and yet you still have the ability to be innovative. Not innovative enough that you're too outside the box and you don't fit in any contemporary manner, but relevant enough that you can kind of stand out amidst the crowd, if that makes sense. So let's go through some other topics. Hold on. Let's play this out a little bit more. Let's look at the ranges here. Hold on. So like I said, overall, pretty much there. If you look at my LUFS compared to their LUFS, it's right there. Right? It's not too far outside. If we look at the peak, I'm at negative 1.1. They're at negative 0.3. The only reason that happened is because on my limiter, my second limiter, I made sure the output was at 0.7. Tom Frampton from Mastering the Mix, if you guys know that company, you should. He basically states that you want to keep every single mix master below negative 0.75, negative 2 decibel true peak. And when you do this, essentially in translation, when you listen in hi-fi speakers or lo-fi speakers, car, um, AirPods, the whole nine, what ends up happening is you get a nice translation. Whereas if the number is above this, you could probably play this on in club speakers and you'll hear a ton of distortion as a whole. So this is a good trick to utilize if you don't care about customs and you just kind of want to do your own thing. Then you can go ahead and just do your best to match this. But it's nice to have that ceiling to try and get as much translation as possible. So I've raised up the ceiling a little bit, so maybe we can get a little bit closer to them. So that's working. I'm stoked about that. We talked about the textures and how they sound similar. I've got basses, I've got drums. It's a different song, I understand, but I'm saying as a whole, they sound related or like distant cousins. You get the idea. So then now, after the LUFS, we consider the RMS, which is just the average loudness. RMS and LUFS can be said to be interchangeable, and yet still I want the information. I just want to visually look at it. Let's see. essentially averaging out at negative 12.4 RMS. We're good. This is acceptable by today's standards. Songs are usually between negative 9, negative 8, negative 12, negative 14, negative 16 RMS. So this fits. If you've ever had trouble making your music sound powerful, if you've ever had trouble making the music jump out of the speakers, then essentially you should probably pay a little bit more attention to the RMS and LUFS, and that in turn can actually help you out. So this is good, right? We've covered a couple of bases. Things are looking good. Let's talk about the song as a whole and what worked and how I was able to piece this together. Because I'm telling you, it did not start this way. This was an elaborate experiment to implement Sugarbytes Egoist. If you didn't know already, if you look at the channel resources for the modern creative, you'll know for a fact that I created a 2.5 hour manual read through where we go through the manual together so you could learn that program. If you don't know Sugarbytes and you don't know their amazing plugin, that piece of software they call Egoist, let me tell you, it is one of the most incredible pieces of software that I have laid my hands on. If you like glitchy music, if you want to be different, innovative, you want to stand out, let me tell you, this is the software to get. It really is very unique, kind of stands on its own. So once we drafted the basic idea, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about the arrangement. I'm thinking about how I'm going to execute as a whole to make this glue together, right? It has to sound cohesive. Well, I started realizing that this song had a bunch of false starts. And I thought, rather than trying to change the song, rather than trying to change the composition, why don't I work around it? You see, that's what a lot of people do. If you guys don't know, I consult a lot of various people. I've done a lot of work for Apple, currently doing a lot of work for LearnQuest, which is a Apple training provider. And so when I do these consultations, a big part of what I see is people trying to basically fit in to this box. And what I'm here to say, and the reason I get up, the reason I do this, the reason I work the way I do, is because what I want to tell people who are in the creative field today, people who are called to make music in today's world, is you don't have to fit in. That's part of it. You have to find your unique musical identity. What I'm talking about is akin to your fingerprint. Look at your finger right now. You're the only one in the entire universe that will ever have that unique signature. So in the same way, there is a musical identity that wants to be called out, that needs to be called out, but has not had the opportunity because of, you tell me, self-limiting beliefs, what? People holding you back, what? Trying to fit in all the time, what? What is it? What exactly is the reason that you are not living your dreams and why you haven't been able to really fully accomplish your goals? You said you were going to do it, you wanted to do it, and then for whatever reason, something held you back. And so, look, I've been there before. I get it. Trust me, I've been there, okay? I wasn't always doing music full time. If you want to know my story, go ahead and email support@hfmusicacademy.com. We'll go ahead and send you a free course on us because we care about people that want to be creative in today's world. You don't have to be a Hollywood pop star. You don't have to conform to anybody's rules. There are a billion outlets out there just waiting for you. There are people waiting to hear your music. And until you step up your game and until you embody who it is that you are and who it is that you're meant to be, let me tell you, you're depriving other people from your gift. So step up. Let's get it. Let's get on the ball. Let's get moving. So false starts. I started realizing we didn't have to change the song. We just had to kind of fit in. So let's go through all the starts here, okay? So here's kind of the first one. Check it out. there's one false start there. Let that reverb cut. That we're actually going to be talking about that reverb next. Jeez, it's so intense. Okay, and so, right, so I could have changed the song and really altered its dynamic curve and its behavior, but I thought, you know what? Let's stick to it. So that's one false start. Here's the second false start. All right. And then another false start, right? It's like we keep doing the same thing. We build it up, we break it down, we build it up, and it just works for this kind of style. You don't have to do it this way. There are other song formats that you could have very well utilized for a style like this. If you ever wanted to write music for TV, let me tell you, I've been doing this for quite some time, and you could have used the build and layer technique, very similar to techno, EDM. You start off with the kick, then you add the bass, then you add the pads, then you add the percussion, right? And over time, you just build and layer, kind of like building blocks or Legos. That's a very viable technique. In fact, it's actually the most used in television, and I know this because I consulted a television department here in Glendale, and I looked at their metrics, and I was able to analyze kind of which songs were being used the most. It was a great education for me. And anyway, I found that the build and layer technique was the most prevalent in the world of TV music. So there you go. So yeah, you don't have to change the song, especially if it has its own thing, right? This song, it's not an in the box kind of tune. I get that, but it works. If somebody's looking for something with angst, they're gonna buy this. If somebody's looking for something that has a lot of, power and anger, they're gonna get this. They're gonna license it. And so I don't have to change it. If they want it, they'll take it, and if not, guess what? I can write more music, okay? All right. You know what? Let me cover the reverb, and then I'll go to remix effects because that may be a bit more long-winded. So when we start talking about the verb, you already know Valhalla Shimmer. Support this great company. These guys charge $50 a plugin. They just released Supermassive, which is a free plugin, a combo mod delay reverb unit, as I understand it. And really, these guys epitomize like what's amazing about music production, and I love what they do. And I'm hoping to pick up the whole collection over time. But if you've ever wanted something that sounds really dramatic, cinematic, and yet doesn't get in the way of a mix, do me a favor. Check out Valhalla Shimmer. Look at what this incredible beast does. I believe I have this, was it on bus 2? Yeah. So you could see that I essentially just, took off some of the high mids so it didn't compete with the rest of the instrumentation. We know in music production that this is, in fact, the most populated part of any mix here. And so if you do yourself a favor, go into the mid-only version of your EQ. Fat Filter Q3 is notorious for being able to process the mids, the left, the rights. And so if you just apply a little bell filter with the wide slope, that can do a lot by way of cleaning up your mix, okay? And so when we listen to this Ebo guitar with no processing, check it out. So yeah, that's compelling. It's beautiful. But here, let's start adding some processing, okay? So here's tremolo. Here's what I like to use if I want something to move left or right or up and down. And I know that's more of a like perception thing, but this is the sensation that I get when I use it. It's either being panned left and right, or the volume is being sucked in and out, and so the perception is that it's kind of moving up and down. Check it out. So that's moving left, right, left, right, left, right. You can change the rate. So that's pretty sweet. And look, I love being subtle when it comes to this. I always tell people to set the effect so you hear it and then back off enough so that you don't hear it and so that you're somewhere in the middle. And it's like, well, what's your reasoning behind that? Well, you got to think about it, guys. We're making 10,000 decisions in every given mix. And so if you're doing a lot of things in a subtle way, of course this is going to add up and make something powerful and special at the end of it, all right? But if we're doing a lot of big changes over the course of 10,000 decisions, then that may be overkill. And so it's better to be a little subtle, at least on the front end. And then when you get to the end, of course, then perhaps you can be a bit more heavy-handed. So that is that. A little EQ just to contain the signal. If we think of size, here, let me show you what I mean. Like if we think of size, right, you want something to kind of come in a little bit, you can kind of rein it in by using this incredible tool. One of the questions that I like to ask when I'm using an EQ is what? Does it need to be corrected or does it need to be enhanced? In this case, I felt like it was already just too wide in the context of the mix. I never make these decisions outside of the mix. I'm always looking at the screen, hearing the speakers. Sometimes what I do honestly is I'll sit in a different part of the room. I'll stand in another part of the doorway here outside. In my other room. I'll turn away from the speakers to get a different perspective. So try out different modalities to see what helps. And so this is going to contain it a little bit. Check it out. Okay, on top of that, we just added some delay just so that the sound carries over and there's a nice blend. That's one of my favorite things when I see, or when I hear rather, a production is I love hearing sounds kind of carry over. And so this is a nice little effect that I like to use. And it's a basic delay. It's not ping pong, stereo delay. It's just right down the middle. Check it out. So you'll really hear that, yeah, as it ends. Again, more of a subtle effect. The main thing is when I go from chord to chord or note to note, I don't want to hear the individual note. I want it to blend in. So then I added a compressor, and similar to the EQ, where we're trying to contain the dynamics, not so much the frequencies, but the dynamics. And so that's just going to push it down, like literally just push it down. So let's check this out. All right, very good. And then my last trick, this one I just discovered by mistake. As some of you already know, every year I take a staycation. Last year I was in Vegas, had a real good time, uh, reading a bunch of books and just working on myself, working on my craft. And then this year I decided to stay at the studio because I simply had so much to do. So one of the things that I've been doing actively is cleaning out all my plugins. Guys, it's spring cleaning time, it's summer cleaning time. So go into your plugin list and start removing things that you're not using. You don't have to necessarily delete them, but you can disable them from the plugin manager so that you can get ahead and start to organize your mind, organize your subconscious. And when you have clarity, guess what? You have productivity because you can be in action and not necessarily just have activity in your life, senseless activity, right? We want to be effective. So this thing right here is by a company called Air Windows. It's free. I forgot the gentleman's name, but he released over 200 plugins for free. I've analyzed a good chunk of them. I'm gonna call it like 50, and out of those 50, I think I loved about 40 of them. I don't know what this guy's deal is. You can look him up, Air Windows. I highly encourage you to donate because these were all free, and I was just amazed at the quality of these plugins because he very well could have sold them, and the fact that he's giving away all this great love for free. I just want to give them a quick shout out. Air Windows, check them out. Air Windows. So this right here is a kind of um, bit crusher of sorts, and I gotta show you the effect. Hold on, yeah, there we go. All right, so without it, it sounds clean, it sounds wonderful, but let me show you what it does. And we're specifically listening to the sides of the speakers and the kind of gradient thickness, the sharpness that we get that we didn't have before. Here, check it out. So it's just adding some noise to the signal, but I'm telling you, in the context of the mix, it sounds amazing. I've got Atom 8Xs in the studio here. My backup pair is a Rocket, and then I got some Aratones, or rather Avantones, which is kind of like a knockoff of the Aratones. And let me tell you, it sounded so clean, so crisp. Really love the sound. Let's hear it in context of the mix. Here's before, and then I'll add it. Here we go. Okay. Which brings me to my next trick. Now we're talking about these incredible remix effects. All right. So check out Air Windows one more time. All right. So remix effects. I am talking about the possibility of using a glitch effect unit. Think of Stutter 2 or Tornado by Sugarbytes, Effect Tricks, whatever the case may be. I think Native Instruments has the mouth and the finger. Yeah, the finger is a kind of stutter effect. So I just happen to be using this one. There's no right or wrong. This is stock to Logic, just came out on 10.5, and so let's utilize it. And so I started adding the remix effects to the group level. And in so doing, I was able to come out with some really interesting results, specifically, with the drums, but there's more. Let me go ahead and cycle through these automation parameters. All right, cool. And here, just listen for this stuff. It's really, really fantastic. I'll play it in isolation, and then we'll play it as a whole. Here, check it out. Okay, I don't know if you guys realize this, but the amount of work that would have taken had I done that manually would have been insane. What you heard was not even close to the original. It was so far removed from the original, it's not even funny. So here, let me show you what it sounded like before. Check it out. In fact, the part even stops. And that's one of the reasons I decided to use it. check that out. The part stops. So in order to salvage my song, guys, I got unconscious for this one. I went into another galaxy. I decided to use this tool right before the song shifted over into this breakdown, and I caught hold, it looks like, hold on. Yeah, of the kick. You see how it turns on here? Here, check this out. And so all I'm doing at that point is just riding the train. You don't have to make every single part of the song, right? You don't necessarily have to construct it from the ground up. You can get to the point where you trust your musical intuition. There is a part of you in there that knows what to do. I don't care if you went to Juilliard. I don't care if you didn't go to school or got a couple lessons, but if you have music in your heart, let me tell you something. You gotta bring it out, and you're responsible for it. Nobody else. You're the only one that can do it. You can be inspired by others. You can get into lessons and curriculums to better yourself and support your mind. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to step up, level up, and make this game happen. This song wouldn't have happened if I did not put the work. And I'm out here doing this live to show you that it's possible, right? You don't have to hide behind doors. You can do this if you want to do it. We have the technology now. We have everything that we need in order to achieve what it is that we need to achieve. So if you set up a goal a long time ago and maybe you failed, maybe you didn't, but maybe you did. If you failed, I need you to get back up. You understand me? I need you to do it for you, for your family, for your brother, your sister, your mother, whatever the case may be. You have to have a reason to want to do this. And I do this for the people that I love, for my sister, for my daughter, for my wife, for all the people in my life, for all my friends that have backed me up throughout the years, all the people that I've been in bands with, all the people that have believed in me since I was a little kid. This is why I do it. And so you have to have a reason to do this, guys. Don't forget, please do me a big favor, because when you forget, that's when you lose that passion and you get lost in the world. You get lost in everything that's happening. So let's get on it. Let's focus a little bit more on remix effects, and then we will call it a day. All right. So on a group level, that worked out quite nicely. I was stoked about that. And there was something else that happened. Oh, yeah. There was a breakdown with the guitars. There's a couple groups here. Is it this guy? Hold on, let me just check something real quick. Yeah, I think I did it on the track level. I don't remember. Let me see. Yeah, it's right here. You can see that the filter turns on for the master bus. So I routed this a little bit differently this time around. Let's check it out. Alright. So that was a nice little transition. Didn't require that much work, and I was able to pull it off in seconds flat. Another great plugin that I recommend for this, that's third party, is called Endless Smile. If you haven't checked this out, it's by Data Life. Really nice and pretty great GUI, might I add. These guys should win an award for this. But it does a very similar thing, except obviously it's automating a lot of these actions rather than you having to do them yourself. All right. So that's pretty much it, team. I just kind of wanted to show you that this song panned out. Obviously, all songs are different. I try and finish everything that comes across my desk. I try and finish everything. And yet, I also understand that these songs have a life of their own, and it's merely my job to, take them from point A to point Z. You're like a wayfarer, right? You have to take care of your songs, pick them up at the port, right? take them along the journey, and then when it's time, you let go. And so, yeah, this was a really fun tune. It was so great to borrow from myself and kind of pinch music for myself. I'm feeling absolutely elated about this journey, and I understand that it's not the easiest path. I could have chosen a billion other things to do in this lifetime, but I'm so grateful that I chose music and that I stuck with it. And if you guys want support, we have a lot of great people over at HF Music Academy that are willing to help you. If you feel like you need a breakthrough, like you just want some support, you perhaps don't have a community and you're ready to just level up and take your game to the next level, do me a favor, email support@hfmusicacademy.com. You don't have to be alone, okay? You don't have to be alone. We are currently conducting a collaboration challenge, and every single person inside our academy literally is grouped up with another teammate. They're making music together, and if they're just learning or they're pitching it to libraries or they're pitching it for streaming or for blogs, whatever the case may be, they're in action. And so that's what we're proposing to you. We want you to be in action. We want you to not think so much, not study too much. Don't undervalue who you are and what you're capable of. There are a lot of people doing this, okay? I'm not the only one. And so I'm just the first to arrive to say, hey, you can do it too. And I want you guys to win, okay? And I'm looking forward to hearing your stories. I get text messages every single day, emails, every single day about people winning. And I'm so excited. If you guys don't know, again, my journey, I just sold a music licensing course to the biggest, one of the biggest music producers on YouTube, Ill Factor from Beat Academy. And so a lot of great things are happening. I'm so excited about the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years. I just signed a big contract with LearnQuest to be their Logic provider. I developed the entire curriculum for Logic, and I just feel elated that I have the opportunity to do this. And so what is it that you could be doing? What opportunities could you be selling? Samples, maybe you sell your beats online, whatever the case may be. There's something out there for you, and I'm interested in what that is. So if you're looking for help, please email support@hfmusicacademy.com. That's HF like Harry Frank, hfmusicacademy.com, and we will take care of you. And again, we will provide a free course so you too can optimize your setup, okay? All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you very much. There's John Landales. What's up, John, all the way from Scotland? That's my guy. All right, see you later. Thank you very much. God bless you guys. Have a great week. Keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving, and keep your frequency high. We'll see you later, guys. Cheers. Boop-a-doo. Come on.